Veronica. Thank you for doing your discussion post on Latin Americans. I did mine on African Americans, so this was nice to see something different and learn something else. I thought it was interesting and important how you brought up in the beginning of your video how Latin Americans or Latin covers multiple different countries. And I think that it's really important to talk about the diversity to the origins that fall under that umbrella of Latin, because it also, I'm sure, aids a lot in a lot of the discrimination they face, and even possibly within, with under that umbrella, maybe possibly towards each other as well. So I thought that was really important that you brought up and really interesting. I also noticed when you were talking about things, especially in ways, some of the things that the adversities that Latin Americans face, and their approach to counseling or seeking out mental health services. I resonated with some similarities from my research with the African Americans. You mentioned how they usually are in high risk, more labor intensive jobs. That's something that's also very similar to African Americans. A lot of blue collar jobs, salary gaps. They both have significant salary gaps from the Latin Americans or African Americans to white people. Again, that kind of comes back to, the systemic racism and the socioeconomic status and this constant circle that is really challenging for marginalized people to get out of. As well as the stigma. You mentioned that the Latin Americans have a stigma towards seeking mental health. Same thing with African Americans. That's a big one. You talked about also just the, fear of discrimination and stuff like that with Latin Americans. I was reading up on a research article, and a study was done on Latin Americans seeking counseling and trying to figure out what the biggest barriers were against that. And the top barriers that Latin Americans faced, specifically from this study, were the available treatments for them and financial cost. I believe the percentage was like 62 or 63% of them was financial cost. And right below that was the stigma. That is Newbery, ETAL 2024. So I thought that was really interesting. The noticing the differences and the similarities between the two marginalized groups, obviously very different, but just goes to show, kind of the level of discrimination and difference in culture. So thank you for all of your input.